You have been told many lies of Middle-earth.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 7. Next week's gonna be the season finale. Good grief. So we have the aftermath of Mordor becoming Mordor, the volcano erupting. And then we actually got to catch up with Doran and co, as well as the Harfoots and the Stranger. So I'm back, Natty Willie, hey. And I'm here with Sam. What's up?
Woo, we back, y'all. We back. Ready to talk about these rings of power. We ain't seen a single ring in this joint.
I ain't seen a single ring.
You know what? Like the reveal of this, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm still dealing with the whiplash of the ramifications of all this. And I'm sorry if you guys, hopefully you guys know this is a spoiler-filled discussion, but
it is. Sorry.
The reveal that the Southlands is Mordor. And then, you know, you guys have seen our intro. You've seen the little leaf drop. Little did we know, whoo, there's a fire down below. The Balrog is right around the corner. And it's just, I think the thing about this episode that I found very fascinating is that, you know, the last episode I thought was dope. Like, I love the last episode. But this episode was like, kind of like the icing on the cake for me, because it was like, you're dealing with all the ramifications of everything. Like, it's like, yo, the humans got milliwapped. Like, they lost. They lost around the corner. Like, there's this L's being thrown out in this episode everywhere. Harfoots, they took some L's. Numenor, they definitely took some terrible L's. And your heart breaks for a lot of them. But it's kind of like their resilience is such a commendable thing in this episode that I mean, it's rare to have that. It's rare to have that in like a show where you're like, okay, they are still going for this. Matter of fact, it's like a fire has been lit underneath them, but they have lost so much. And I love that. I love like the build up for something else coming up kind of thing.
But then you have the contrast for that. You have Elendil, who's like, F it, let me go home. I've lost my son, supposedly. We're going to get to him in a minute. But we have, I want to say Nori initially, because she felt afraid of the Stranger, but then that changed.
Yep.
Yes, she said goodbye to him, but it was really like trepidatiously.
Yep.
Hopefully I'm saying the right word for that. But it was with, you know, fear a little bit. And the Stranger felt that. But then it was like, as soon as someone who's evil, we saw you know, the 3 women again. Yes, one of them we saw was Eminem, but it's actually a woman. My bad. I'm not the only one that said that though, so dude, y'all can't come after that.
Right, it looks like a guy. Even the first time we see him in the show, I was like, but then I was like, oh no, yeah, when you look at her full frame, okay, yeah, no, she's a girl. Got it.
And it's interesting that it's 3 women, kind of like the 3 witches from Arthurian legend. I can't remember their names, but or even in Greek mythology, you know, the 3 sisters that can see in the future and they can do magic.
Yep.
So let's real quick just go over the Harfoots and the Stranger. I felt bad for him because I just felt like he was getting shunned. And it wasn't really his fault. Like, he was trying to help, and he's still not understanding fully his power.
Yeah.
Like, he has an idea, but I mean, he still doesn't know who he is. He's still trying to figure that out. So for you to get mad and you're touching him, knowing that he's fully in concentration, you have to take the L on that too. A little bit, at least Nori does, but yeah. So I wanted to get your thoughts on with the Harfoots, him trying to help, and then eventually them, you know, saying, you know, let's help him, especially after their village gets destroyed by these 3 women.
Right. I mean, the thing is, it's kind of like they already, were kind of leaving him to the side. They were kind of like, oh, okay, he's okay. But she was very much so afraid of him. And so any small little thing was going to like tear her away from him. Even down to like them asking, like, can we ask him for help? Did he possibly, because I thought initially we were going to say, well, did he do this? But they're like, no, can he maybe try to fix it? And she was like, no. And then when he tried to fix it, and I was kind of like, she knows better. Like, she probably should have said, everybody stand back and we'll see what happens. But she's dealing with so much fear from somebody that she really cares about. Like, she doesn't know how to process it. And so the easiest thing to do is try to back away from the situation. But like you said, like he, at this point, he cannot formulate even sentences. Like, he doesn't even like formulate words. Like, he right now is nonverbal completely. So it's like he's got all this power in him. He doesn't know how to do anything with it. And I give credit to the actor because he's saying a lot without saying a word. Like, you can see to his expression, like he's remorseful. He might be frustrated at times. He might feel like he's being shunned. Like, I think I got a lot of that from his nonverbals in this episode more than anything, because he's kind of like looking around at the family. He's looking around at everybody else. And it's kind of like he really wanted to stay. And I think he really wanted to help, but it was kind of like, there was nothing more that he could do. And I think, honestly, when they saw all the apples and stuff like that, I think maybe Nori kind of was like, maybe I did the wrong thing. Maybe I should have had him stay kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then, when, like you said, when the three witches came up there, they tried to defend him, but at the same time, it was for nothing because her dad is an OG. Her dad, I for a while, I was kind of like, why did all these people depend on this man? But he really is the voice of reason. As much as the old black guy is like is a good elder, like he is kind of the voice of reason. And he was like, no, like, don't touch them or I'll burn you. And then, of course, them petty witches were like, oh, you will burn us. Okay, you're going to lose everything tonight. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I was like, total pettiness. I'm like, y'all didn't have to do all that. Mm-hmm. And it kind of reveals at least a little bit or a more understanding of the stranger's powers, because apparently he must be like them. That's why they're searching for him.
Right.
But again, he doesn't know who he is. We don't know who they are, but we know that they're powerful. So they're doing it in a way of showing us, hey, remember when we felt like he was destroying things? Well, apparently it's kind of like how there's rules within like Wicca or witchery, at least in movies and TV shows, where I think even The Witcher has done something like this, where you do magic, but it comes at a cost.
There's a sacrifice to any kind of magic that's done.
Right. So I think they're using that kind of a system, so to speak, because she could have sent that fire anywhere, but she's petty enough to send it to where their food was, where, people probably got burned because they were probably still inside. Like,
right. They have babies. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, them Harfoots, man, they came back. I give them credit because, like, lost the gosh darn place of habitation. They don't have any way of protecting themselves. That's one of the things. They have cover. That's how they survive. Mm-hmm. Now they have no cover whatsoever. So it's like, if one of those wolves come, what are they supposed to do? If a random human wants to just rob them, what are they gonna do? So, but yeah, they were the first ones to take an L.
Yeah, and initially I thought they would blame the stranger, because when Burroughs was saying, the volcano erupted, and that's usually a sign that evil's coming, and they kind of like looked at him, but then it's kind of like, oh, well, then he asked for help. So at least I was concerned about that, but then I was glad that they at least said, oh, maybe he can help, versus them being completely afraid of him, at least initially.
Right.
So I was glad of that. I'm here for the stranger. I want to know who he is. And like you said, his acting is, there were a lot of like moments where people were looking at each other or just saying a lot without really saying anything. And I loved that. That was like the best parts of the episode for me. So let's go on to like our favorite duo, Elrond and Durin. His dad was like, nah, we ain't digging. And Doran's like, but my friend, Daddy. And his dad's like, nah, we ain't doing this. And what makes it so bad is we see the Balrog at the end.
Right.
So then it's like, Daddy, right? But at the same time, we got to help the elves. So what we gonna do?
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a sacrifice yet again, one way or another, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's sad because the dialogue between him and his dad in this episode is really strong.
Oh my god!
Anybody that is, you know, a dad understands certain things that, you know, your son or your daughter, they can't see some things, you know, because you've been living longer. But at the same time, like the son and even the wife said, it's like because he's set in his old ways, he won't listen to reason because of fear. And fear, like, you know, the Elvish king, the Numenor people, like fear has guided a lot of people's perspective. And it's no different with Doran's dad. The problem is, it's kind of like, even with actual unrefutable proof, he was like, look, as the king, once I make this decision, if I'm wrong, you all die. And that's the truth. And so, but at the same time, it was kind of like, look, Dad, we're condemning everyone to die. The dad's rebuttal was like, if we do this wrong, everyone will die. And it's like they're both right. It's sad. What they could have done is they could have, from that deposit that he found, in my opinion, the dad could have been like, look, you found this deposit, you gather as much as you can, but banish him from this point. I need to see and wait our options longer. But instead, because they did it behind the dad's back, the dad was like, nah, that elf got to go.
Well, in a way, it wasn't really Elrond's fault because Doran immediately found Elrond after they saw the leaf turn, revive.
Right.
And so he can't really blame Elrond for that. But Elrond should have known that Daddy would have said something if they got caught. Right. So if anything, he should have immediately, like you said, went to the dad. At least that could have opened negotiations and at least would have said, hey, like you said, just dig a little, not a lot. Mm-hmm. Just dig enough to at least give something to help out just a little bit, and then we're done. We're not trying to dig no more. But of course, the urge to dig would still be there, I think, especially considering what little that Doran saw was a lot.
Yeah.
And it's only going further from there. And I thought it was interesting that with the way that the mithril was looking, it looked like how Gil-galad was describing the story of the tree and how it created the mithril and how it was cascading down like as a lightning strike. So, and then you saw the Balrog at the end. So, hoo chow. I was getting a little teary-eyed with Elrond and Durin, and then Durin and his dad. Excellent acting from all of these actors. Yeah. I was mentioning in the chat, I don't know why, but Durin's dad reminded me of Christopher Lambert a little bit. And then kind of like Graham McTavish and Christopher Lambert like rolled into one, even though I know it's a totally different actor. Peter Mullan, excellent. Yeah. Owain Arthur, who plays Durin, excellent. The guy that plays Elrond, excellent.
Right. Yeah, their acting is there. It's so weird. They're my favorite duo. Literally, like every scene that they're in, like I just eat it up because it's so sincere. I think from the first episode, they've won me over. Even like certain levels of emotion in this show are invoked just off of their dialogue. Because honestly, when Elrond went to the king and kind of like bent the knee and begged, basically. Mm-hmm. And then, Durin was like, look, like, if we don't do this, I'm going to lose my friend and he's going to lose his people. And it was just such an emotional moment. And then later on, the catalyst to that, when they got caught and then the dad and him had that altercation. This is the crazy thing. And anybody that gets married will know this, is that your wife, you got a really good one, or a husband, you got a really good one, they're going to cover you in any way, shape, or form, what that looks like. And his wife was like, look, you know, she said, da, 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 da. And then she kind of rephrased, I apologize. You know what? Let me preface it like this. He's a fool because at the end of the day, it ain't going to go to your brothers. It's not going to go to this random person. It's going to go to you. And it's going to be our thing. Now, the sad thing about that, she's not wrong, but she's coming at it with a lot of emotion. And because she's coming at it with a lot of emotion, it kind of comes off really scary, because what it's doing is propelling him to go against his dad directly. And that's the thing that he was trying to avoid from the beginning. He's like, at the end of the day, I'm not the king yet, and I don't want my sons to say, oh, well, I'm going to go against you, dad, because you're wrong. And then that's going to be a whole nother vicious cycle all over again. But now that the dad made this action and she's backing, you know, like he's doing this the wrong way, we got to do this ourselves kind of thing. Now that plants a seed of doubt and darkness. It's actually really interesting because it goes back in tandem to something that Gadriel and Theo had about, you know, when you start making certain thoughts and actions, how darkness can kind of seep in and spread like a cancer. And that, unfortunately, is going to be the first turning point for Durin and his father. And I think ultimately it's going to be a thing that's going to hurt or hinder his relationship with Elrond at the end of the day. Because I really don't know what Elrond's going to do, because he doesn't even know what's going on outside. He has no idea that Mordor has been created. And I don't know how he's going to react to that, to be honest with you.
And I think that is, and because he's kind of like banished, it's kind of like he can't communicate with Durin unless Durin goes out, because he can come and go as he pleases.
Right.
Assuming. And like you said, I loved him and Disa's relationship in this episode, because she's like, okay, we're in this together. I want to support you. But like you said, that could sometimes be a bad thing. And I also think it's because she believes in what Mithril can do, and at the end of the day they have good intentions, and I think that's the crux of it, and that's what makes it so hard to, you know what's coming, but it's like, oh, you had such good intentions, and sometimes good intentions can lead to bad things. Like this Balrog down there, way deep in the mountain. It's like we know that fate's coming, like we've said in previous episodes, and I'm gonna be sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a good portion. I was even tearing up when Doran was tearing up. I'm like, that's my friend.
Yeah.
And I did think it was a cute moment when they were describing, he got tired, Elrond got tired when they were doing.
I kind of felt like that was happening. Even when it was, I was like he was a little winded, but I feel like
he was winded. And this is how deep their friendship is, or how deep Durin believes in their friendship is. He was going to reveal his real name, or the special name that elves or dwarves have with their family and friends, or special close people. He considers Elrond a brother. Yeah. Like, that's so deep.
Yeah, that's a matter of fact. That's why the dad got pissed off, because he's like, look, like I feel that Elrond is such a brother to me, like he was in my own mother's womb.
And yeah, he definitely got, when he said that, he was like, mm-mm.
He's like, how dare you desecrate the memory of your mother bringing up an elf? Like that's where the racial, stuff.
Right.
There's racist stuff going on now. Like, don't we talk about that elf in this household? But yeah, man, I love that. It was very highly emotional, and I think their acting is very strong. I'm just curious to see what Elrond is going to do now. Because desperation is a heck of a thing. Like, it might be a situation Elrond goes and he finds out what happened to Southlands, and he's just like, okay. And because he's got to talk to the king. The king's gonna be like, yeah, them jokers, they got it. I know for a fact it'll banish this evil, but they ain't trying to give it to us. King's like, all right, bet, we got to go to war. But
maybe not necessarily war, but I think once Galadriel comes there with Halbrand, the urgency is going to be there even more. Hopefully we can negotiate and not necessarily escalate into something bad, like like a war between the elves and the dwarves. Like, that would just defeat the purpose, considering they need to come together to defeat all of the orcs who are in Mordor.
That joint right there.
And that's a good segue.
I mean, look, we've been going over this picture for a while. I'm trying to see if I can pick it up. And we didn't know until the end of the last episode, like, how do we get here? What is this, right? Well, it's the soot, the ash from dead people. Like, matter of fact, the first thing she kind of is getting up, she sees it just a horse on fire. She had to dodge out the way. Like, there's people dead in the street. Like, stuff is burning everywhere. It was terrible. Like, it looked like a nuclear bomb had went off. And this is just the aftermath and the radiation people. Because I honestly, the way that they started this episode off, I was like, how many people actually died? Because you can't see anything. You couldn't see a thing. And I loved that. I loved how not only was they all technically took a L, but her morale and her zeal and her fight was gone.
Facts.
Like, I feel like if she hadn't have ran into Theo, honestly, I think she would have probably went out fighting and died, possibly, because she just lost her instinct to do anything. Like, it was kind of like she saw Theo, she looked at him for a minute, she was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, almost without saying it, she's not okay. She was like, "I feel responsible for this." And equally, he felt responsible. Matter of fact, this is weird. I never would have thought I would have loved to hear their dialogue. Like, them going back and forth. I never would have pictured it being like, because Theo's been annoying for a good, 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes. But now he's kind of coming to his own. He's accepted who he is, even though he don't know exactly who he is, I don't think. To now talking to the general and talking to Gadriel, and it's such an interesting dynamic that I never thought that I would have ever wanted. I don't know if you feel differently though.
No, I it's like a conversation or two people conversing or spending time together that I didn't realize I needed. And their stories actually kind of parallel a little bit because of Theo's experience so far and his fight. He doesn't know if his mom is still alive.
Right.
And so that thirst for revenge and the fact that he just started bonding with Arondir, who he hugged. That was super nice. I was like, "Aw, look, they're getting along now." And it's funny because, like you said, Theo was annoying the first 3 episodes, but he's kind of growing on me. I was like, "Look at that."
Yeah.
And I think it's just him just realizing he's still a little boy at the end of the day. He still has some growing to do, and he's in a fight for survival. And that at this point you need to buck up and fight for the people that you care about. And you obviously care about your mom, even though you were kind of like nasty to her initially. But at the end of the day, you do love your mom. And now you're starting to at least develop some form of a relationship with Arondir and people in the village. Because again, we're all in the fight for survival here, because against these creatures that invaded and interrupted your life, because you were living your life. And that got interrupted in a way that was completely unexpected. Like, he lost his home. Like, that, his home is gone. And so that could be a lot for someone. And in a similar way that Galadriel, she left home, but it was kind of like she lost people. She lost, something that she was familiar with. And she's been fighting for so long. And so she is kind of like, don't make the same mistakes that I did. I was kind of getting a sense from the conversation they were having, that's kind of like what she was instilling in him. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad, because I think she's starting to really start to think, I can't keep doing this. And even just remembering her husband, because I know some folk gonna be like, they ruined canon. She ain't say that he's dead.
Yeah, he disappeared.
Never see him again. That don't mean nothing. You know what that means.
Right.
It's gonna be a love triangle.
Yeah, you're gonna see him in season 2, y'all. He's coming up. But I think you're right. That point of talking about the inner darkness side, because we've known it. Like Theo's been so close to darkness, it's scary. For a while, I was kind of like, man, this kid may be, Sauron incarnate. I really don't know, you know what I'm saying? But now, like witnessing, him kind of coming along, and they're like you said, like it's almost a direct parallel. It's actually scary because he had asked, no, he was talking about like, am I a soldier now? And he was talking about this. She was like, when I was your age, there wasn't even such thing as orcs. Like she was like, I came into this the wrong way. And like you said, she doesn't want him to become her, but she also wants him to learn because she knows now. I think in this episode, I'll say it like this. I think that she made her most growth in these last 2 episodes than the whole entire season. Yep. Because the whole entire season, I know she's a pound. I know she's more than capable. She had no tact. She didn't understand the ramifications of sacrifice. And Aaron has brought it up. He said it straight up. He's like, how many elves are you willing to sacrifice to this goal? And she couldn't answer the question because she's so focused on revenge and getting this taken care of. Now, she brought everybody in. She kind of saved the day. She had it right in her grasp, thinking that she was getting ahead, and she took 5 more steps backwards. And on top of that, she lost people, and it was on her watch. And so because of that, the queen, Dagon, lost her eyesight. The captain at this point thinks his son is dead, which we know he's not. The Southlands is now Mordor. And like effectively everybody had to disband and regroup. So now she has to wait even longer because the troops that she had for Numenor, they're like, yeah, captain's like, I ain't studying this elf. I should have never picked her tail up. The only person, and even though she lost her eyes, I give the actress that played the role of the queen so much
Cynthia, credit. My girl, Navia. Yes, Spartacus, yes. She
did a lot with her demeanor and character in this one. Because, when, she was getting helped by the captain's son, and then all of a sudden you hear the yell, I was kind of like, dang, she must have got burned, but you couldn't see any burns physically. But I was like, she's looking like Daredevil right now. She's like Matt Murdock. I was like, oh, daggone, she don't got no eyesight. And she knew enough to know, like, I have to keep people's morale up. Still keep presenting me forward. Don't let them know anything different because we have to keep moving forward. Down to the point where, Gadriel came to her, bending the knee. She's like, we don't bend in Numenor. He's like, look, this ain't Numenor anymore. This is the Southlands. And she was like, well, they made an enemy of us and they're going to regret it. And we will come back. And I was just like, yo, shout out to her because that's a whole pound statement right there. You ain't got no eyes. You can't even navigate yourself anymore. You know what you got to do. And I respect it, bro. I'm all
for but it. How much support is she going to get when she gets back, realistically? Especially since Elendil feels like he lost his son. Yeah. And this is what irks me because, look, bruh, the horse done warned you that something was coming. And then he's like letting you know again that maybe, just maybe, I need to roll out and find your son. But you're not listening. It's not computing. Right. And I'm just like, that didn't even cross your mind.
Nah,
and I get it.
I mean, I get it though, but
but the horse knows. Like, the horse has a sixth sense. That is your son's horse. Like,
yeah, because I was kind of thinking, I was like, maybe he might follow the horse.
I thought so too.
But he didn't. He's dealing with too much grief. And to be fair, if low key, if I would have lost the way they lost, and a daggone volcano erupted after a dam, I probably would have been like, nah, this is. Because I think part of it is he blames himself.
True.
Because he allowed his son, I mean, yeah, it was misguided the way, the whole way he got there, but he allowed it to happen. And that's his worst fear. And now it's kind of like he has nothing to say for it. Matter of fact, he's got to go back and tell his daughter that not only did we lose terribly and we lost a lot of people, but now we've lost, your brother. And she never wanted them to go to begin with.
True.
So that's going to be his own thing.
Exactly. Especially with the, what's his face?
I call him the buzzard.
Yeah.
He's ready to
the chair or the, oh my gosh. I had his name last week, Pharazon.
Right.
He was already kind of like plotting.
Yeah.
Low-key. And then we still, because initially I was thinking, okay, is this the vision? I have a feeling this isn't the vision. I still think something's going to happen at Numenor itself. I think it's still going to drown in, it's going to drown by like a massive tidal wave or tsunami. Because while the volcano looked like that's what they were in, that's what the vision was. I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
We'll see. I think that it's a metaphor. I think they're gonna drown by their own causes, because people are just susceptible from trauma and loss and greed to drown themselves. I really think it's gonna be a metaphor situation because now the king, I don't know if people know if he's alive or not, he can't really do much. And then now the queen, she ain't got no eyesight. So it's like they look weak. Somebody's gonna be like, yeah, no, we need somebody else to be put in power. Like, y'all made terrible decisions. You trust the elves the first time. Now you go trust the elves again. Now look what happens,
Exactly. And that's gonna fuel the flame, so to speak, especially if Elendil kind of like turns because of his loss. It's like he doesn't even want to come back. So, and Isildur is still buried somewhere. He's definitely alive because we know what happens to him. Come on now. Like,
yeah,
he's not dead. But I did predict rightly that one of his friends would die, and he did.
Yeah, that jump was sad.
It was sad, but it was predictable. And now that Nori, Poppy, her mom, and Mr. Boros is traveling, I think Mama's going to die.
Oh yeah, I think sadly, I hate to say it, I think the black dude's gonna die. I think the mom's gonna live and the black dude's gonna sacrifice himself. It's gonna be wolves. The wolves are gonna come back. I predict that whoever I'm gonna just call him Gandalf. Whenever Gandalf comes back to help the Harfoots, he's gonna protect them from the wolves, but it's not gonna be enough to protect the old black man. I really don't think he's gonna make it, which is sad because I actually like his character. But the one thing I was gonna say also is that the king is still alive. Arondir is still alive, but the fact that the king, the proclaimed king of the Southlands, which is no more, he kind of was hurt really bad, but he told her, it's like, look, we got here. We ain't done yet. We got work to do. And he was like, look, I'm going to stand up. She was like, look, he needs some medicine. He needs some elfin medicine.
I call BS on that for real, because he looked dead. Like, he looked like he should be resting and not on a horse traveling super far to get some medicine. I'm sorry.
Hey, look, if one show can have a man literally slowly dying and losing body parts and dealing with everything under the free world and looking like he's 1,000 years old, this little boy can be all right. He's fine. I give him all the. But anyway, I thought this was a great second episode, and I guess you said there's only one more episode left. It's not 9, it's 8.
So this was 7 out of 8. We got one more week. I know. It seems like we're already here. I'm like, we just got here. We just started the show. What are you talking about? Yeah,
but I guess the good thing is they're already shooting on season 2 right now. So look, I'm all the way for more. I'm excited. This is becoming one of my favorite shows. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Not everybody will say the same, but I really do enjoy the show.
Yeah, and they're going to be in New York Comic Con, at least some of the cast, and that is paired with another show. Yeah. Yep.
You really shamelessly plugged that right there.
Yeah, totally. Wheel of Time. Yep. Because Amazon does suggest the show after, Rings of Power. Just saying. And so they're paired together at New York Comic Con. That's this week. So we'll see what happens, what they'll reveal, or if anything, or they'll just talk about the season in general at New York Comic Con. So we'll see.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Thank you guys so much for your comments on each one of these discussions that we've been having. We appreciate you guys getting more into the comments. What do you know? We may do contests. If we may pick you out of something and give you something or send you something. We'll see. We actually got a contest going on right now for October. Did you want to talk about that, Nat?
Oh, yeah. So it's horror season. So we got some scary movies or classic horror movies that we're giving away. So first up is Poltergeist. So this Friday, we'll be selecting the winner. So we have trivia questions each week. So just try and answer the question, be the first one to answer the question correctly by Friday, and you'll be the winner. Yeah. And we'll send it to you. Just follow all forms of social media as well to qualify, or at least one of them anyway. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. That'd be great.
Like, they're doing a really great job with it, and I think that you will be pleasantly surprised. So all you got to do, like you said, follow us on Twitter or follow us on any of the social medias, and you can be possibly a winner as well. We're going to go. Hopefully you like our discussion. Fortunately, we didn't have everybody here this time, but for the finale, we will try to have everybody here. We promise.
Yeah. Fingers crossed on that.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Falling out the top of I can see skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind.